Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement. Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton for the month of February, Black History Month. The Saturday Action Rally will be at Mother AME Zion Church, 137th Street, between Lenox and 7th Avenues from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're glad as we transition into our new headquarters. Our 4 Saturdays of Black History Month, we'll be doing those rallies at Mother AME Zion. Stand on historic ground, holy ground, where Frederick Douglass spoke, where Madam C.J. Walker was funeralized, where Sojourner Truth had a Underground Railroad come through. I'm so excited about being there as it prepares us to move on to our new headquarters. Let's go back and stand on the rock. Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, ready Reverend Al Sharpton, and it is Monday morning, President's Day. And of course, on Mondays, we let you come from the weekend and talk about whatever is on your mind, whatever's in your heart, the things in the news, the things in your community, in your neighborhood. Hot Button Monday. And I want to couple it up today what I've asked our listeners on my Sunday show to give an American history. Who would you list as the 3 best presidents of the United States? And why? And you may want to give your issue, you may want to address something going on in Hot Button Monday, and also give us your 3. But I'm open it up for everybody to express themselves. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to our message board. Bruce Turner is on the message board already saying, hi, Hot Button Monday. Hello, Rev. I watched you yesterday on Politics Nation. Well, I'm glad you did. I hope others did as well. And somebody said, good morning, Rev. Do you take a day off? Not if I can help it. As long as God, that was Rev 206, 11216 Rev. He says, Dr. Sharpton, do you take a day off? Nope. Ever since I was born, Doctor, God ain't took a day off on me, so I ain't taking a day off from what he blessed me to do things I never thought I could do. So I'm doing it as long and strong as I can. But I appreciate the prayers. So you can call in, or you can, of course, go on the message board as I've been reading some of the messages. Let me tell you, we're at a critical point in American history. And because of our story and because of the history, I think we have a unique perspective on President's Day. I was on Morning Joe this morning, and I mentioned to, I think it was, I was on with some of the historians, that the beginning of, or the recognition, celebration of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, forming the country, 1776, is different from us that were enslaved since 1619. So when you talk about who was the best presidents, you're talking about under who? Because from 1619 to 1863, we were slaves. So we didn't count with who was president of the country over us because we had no say-so. And a lot of people get uncomfortable when you bring that up, but I get uncomfortable not to bring it up because it happened to us. Women couldn't vote. So when you address this issue, address it based on what period of time do you see. Now, I accept the fact that some people say that I'm choosing the best president at the time because they challenged certain times or they changed certain times or they was consequential, whether I agree with the consequences or not. I'll accept that. But it's very, very interesting of who people see as the best president. I posted on my social media, Facebook and Instagram, the whole social media spreads that we do, that I've been blessed to have engaged the last 5 presidents, and I put the pictures of me with them up, including Trump. I dealt with Trump during COVID, called him about black churches. Though he's attacks me every 3 or 4 months, and though I clearly disagree with his policies and him, I don't forget the whole question of policy. I think he's a racist. And I did when he was in New York. We marched on him about the Central Park 5. He claimed he was all right with us. We gave him a chance for redemption, and he came right back with birtherism. But I tell the stories briefly. You can go to my Instagram page or Facebook. I list and give the photos of me and the last 5 presidents. So I'm very interested in your perspective. I see Angie Figtree says, is that Angie Figtree? Said, good day, Reverend Al, from beautiful Barbados, where we enjoyed your Nan remarks the other day, and then thank you for keeping everything about you and your shows as the classiest of all time. Well, Angie, I appreciate that down in Barbados. Y'all gonna invite me back to Barbados? I haven't been to Barbados in a few years now. Beautiful, beautiful island. I'd love to do the show from there. Nicola DeMarco from Tacoma, Washington is saying, I agree with you, Rev. The black experience in America is central to our democracy. Black freedom means freedom for all of us. When Dr. King marched, he helped us all. And that's my point, Nicola, is that when we fought against slavery and for the right to vote, it also gave women suffrage strength. It also gave others strength. So, and I disagree with those people talking about everybody benefited from us. We wanted everybody to benefit. We did not want to be in an equal position and everybody else couldn't be. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what's going on in the daily news, I continue to pray. Let me say this for the family of Suzanne Guthrie, who I know at NBC. It's been 2 weeks. It has to be very painful for her and her family. Keep them in your prayers. Former President Barack Obama called the rhetoric coming from President Trump and his administration a clown show. And he did a podcast and was interviewed, asked about it. He said he won't participate in the clown show I talked about on Politics Nation last night. He also said that people have no shame when they find some kind of merit to doing things like depicting him and his wife as apes. Then I also see that Attorney General Pam Bondi's been criticized for saying that all of the Epstein files has been released, but lawmakers pushed back, citing things that they know should have been in the files that were not in the files. And then again, and I'm so glad we got that in this morning with on Morning Joe, is the whole idea of the erasing of black history, and of now today it is historically where on the President's Day you can go in national parks, Yellowstone, other parks, and free on certain days, including Martin Luther King Day and Juneteenth Day. Now Trump comes in and says, oh no, you got to pay on King Day, pay on Juneteenth Day. And they talking about, for foreigners, you're talking about $100, you're talking about by the time people eating, you're talking about a couple $100 that they didn't have to pay on King Day till now. And Juneteenth Day till now. But he kept Flag Day. You can go free to Indian National Parks on Flag Day. That's his birthday. I couldn't make this up. All right, let's get ready to take your calls. It's Hot Button Monday on President's Day. It's not a tape, I'm live. All you gotta do is call me, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Mayor Rodney Jones, Queensbridge Houses, just put up his Hot Button Monday. He put the fire sign there. That's right, let's get fired up. Be right back.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Just wait. I believe that.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
This was an amazing MLK breakfast.
It is truly an honor, and more importantly,
This is an important day for us.
I feel incredibly lucky and honored to be in this room on this day, celebrating Dr. King's legacy of civil rights, especially in the moment that we're facing on a national level. It feels like warmth and home being in this room.
So I'm encouraged by today. I'm encouraged that we're getting out, we're protesting, but more needs to be done. We need to lean in.
And let's keep fighting because the job is not done here. And I just feel so honored to get this award. It's not about getting an award, it's about doing the work. And let's keep up with the work.
Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton for the month of February, Black History Month. The Saturday Action Rally will be at Mother AME Zion Church, 137th Street, between Lenox and 7th Avenues from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're glad as we transition into our new headquarters. Our 4 Saturdays of Black History Month, we'll be doing those rallies at Mother AME Zion. Stand on historic ground, holy ground, where Frederick Douglass spoke, where Madam C.J. Walker was funeralized, where Sojourner Truth had a Underground Railroad come through. I'm so excited about being there as it prepares us to move on to our new headquarters. Let's go back and stand on the rock that our people stood on for decades. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton time. It's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. You need to keep it real with Reverend Al Sharpton right here on Uber TV. Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let's go back to the phone. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. You know, every day, Monday through Friday, I do 3 hours a day on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. I do 1 hour on Sunday mornings with Sunday Morning with Reverend Al Sharpton. And I'm live on radio and TV with the Saturday Action Rally. 7 days a week, I talk to our people, hear from them, to call in. I'm sick and tired of people talking for people that they don't talk to. So go on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Listen to my show, call in, express your opinion. You don't have to agree with me. But let's start talking to each other rather than about each other and lecturing at each other. Let's keep it real with Sharpton.
Happy 20th anniversary to Reverend Al Sharpton on 20 years of Keeping It Real. 2 decades of truth-telling, fearless advocacy, and keeping the people informed and empowered. Thank you for always speaking power to justice and standing firm for what's right. Here's to 20 years of impact and many more to come.
Evidence that I take, you will be there. Evidence that I make, we'll be together. Evidence that I take, you will be there. Evidence that I make, we'll be together. Evidence that I take.
Whew. Thank you so much. I was thinking I was going to prepare a speech, but I can't read those things anymore. Name's Babyface, not Baby Body. But I wanted to, you made me sound so good with those words. I was like, that was me? I was like, when I look at my life and I think of the music in everything that I've done. I used to say that I don't know where it came from. I don't know where the words come from. I don't know where the music comes from. I don't know how I got here where I am, but that's not true. God got me here. This is and it becomes more clear to me every day that why I'm here. And I don't even know how I ended up standing here, except for the fact that I ran into Al at the Essence. He was walking in the room, and I said, I got to go say hello. And he said, I want to honor you. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, I want to honor you. I said, really? Yep. And here I am standing here, and I can only thank you. I always want to do this, Michael. I love you too. Sorry. But I think of moments like this, I can't help but just think of how proud my mom would be for me to standing here. I have to say that just to be standing here and to be invited by Al Sharpton, and I want you guys to really think about this man who invited me here and how he has been fighting the fight for us all of these years. I don't think we give him enough credit. I don't think we give him enough love. Sometimes you just get used to people and you think, well, that's just Al. No. He's more than that. I want y'all to give him really love. Come on, let's give him. It's very true. Because I can remember times, I'm 67 years old, I can remember times in Indianapolis, Indiana. Yeah, it's true, I'm 67. And I can remember times in Indianapolis when I was growing up, and there were places before I was 5 years old that I could not go to because I was black. And I remember how civil rights, how that changed everything for me and for my life, and that I'm standing here today because of all of those changes, and I was able to do the kind of music that I do and do everything because of those things happened. And so for me to accept an award like this, because I've never gotten an award like this before, and so I really appreciate it, and I'm just so thankful, and I thank my mom for giving me the sense to always be humble with my life and to never think that it's all about me. So like I said, I didn't prepare.
Keeping it real. I'm your host, keeping it real, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. Keeping it real. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Twitter.com, The Rev Al, or go to the message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And it's Hot Button Monday. Whatever is on your mind, whatever is in your heart, call it, and you'll be heard nationwide, every state and every region of the country. A lot of you are off today, so you can call in. You're not at your office. You're not behind your cubicle. You're not worried about who's hearing you talking. So call in. We are live. This is not a tape. I'm working today on President's Day. In fact, I've asked people to call in and give me their top 3 presidents in American history. I started today on Morning Joe. I did at 7 a.m. Eastern Time with the presidential scholars. I think I'm back on tomorrow as well. And I say the presidents is based on the context of how you see the country. But how do you see it? Let's talk about it. Let me say by way of announcements, don't forget, Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 on MS Now, formerly known as MSNBC. And had a great weekend. I hope y'all didn't take the holiday weekend and not watch it. Had the ranking member of Homeland Security, Congressman Benny Thompson, had the head of the Women's Democratic Caucus in Congress, had, you named them. We had Governor Beshear of Kentucky, had Keith Ellison, Attorney General of Minnesota. I do not waste your time. Watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time every Saturday and Sunday. Then on Saturday Action Rally at the Mother AME Zion Church. Really something stimulating, energetic, energizing about doing the Saturday rally while we're in transition. We're moving from our old headquarters to a new one. And so we're at the Saturday rallies at Mother AME Zion, a historic church. Frederick Douglass spoke there. Paul Robeson was a member there. His brother was a pastor there. Madam C.J. Walker funeralized there. They have a little museum in the basement, or the fellowship hall, a lower level, I'll put it that way. And something about just feeling the spirits of all those great ancestors that remember that church, that does something. It's really beautiful to be there, and we'll be there again this Saturday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and you can watch it live on Impact Television, or you can watch it live on YouTube/NAN or on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Well, we are getting very close to having to cut off the registration for the National Action Network's National Convention 2026. We've got well over the 4,005, somewhere about 500 seats left that we can put out, because we got to hold about 5,000 from our college tour, from people from different chapters coming in. And we've not had this response this early. But we're going to lock it down once we get to 5,000 so we have the other seats available. We had over 10,000 last year. We're going to probably go over more. And this is our 35th year. I thank God that we built an organization that not only survived but thrived. 35 years later, we're stronger, more chapters, more involvement. Be there with us. I have not announced the speakers and the workshop leaders and the entertainers yet, and we already got that kind of response. So that means people understand we're not just named National Action Network. We are the action, and you don't waste your time coming. In order to register for the convention, free. All the workshops, all the sessions, free. All you have to do is go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. All right, let's start off our calls on Hot Button Monday, and nothing blesses us better than to kick off the week with my dear friend, the beloved Miss Eunice in Chicago. Miss Eunice, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hi, Reb. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I would just like to start out by saying, is this Representative Hall, is he representative or congressman? Is he from Missouri?
Representative who?
Hawley.
I think he is from Missouri. I'm not sure though.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he is as disrespectful as they come. When he was questioning Attorney General Keith Ellison, he talked all over him and would not let him answer, wanted to treat him like a boy. And a number of Republicans does the same thing. And you know, Pam Bundy is shameful. Her time will come, and she has the nerve to say in the hearings that she would answer a question the way she wanted to answer. It's just outrageous. And I would like to know, she should be held for contempt of court for not turning over the files. Can the federal judges demand her to do so,
Yeah, I think
or
they
she
can.
go to jail?
I think they.
But I hope so.
I think they can, and I think they should. And as you said, was just arrogant about it. I'm going to answer the way I want. How do you, as someone that yourself represents the law, represents legal proceedings, how do you do that?
I just can't understand how they get away. And what's the guy from Ohio that's the head of it, the chairman? What's his name? It escapes me. Jordan, is that Jordan? What is his name?
Jim Jordan.
Jim Jordan.
And Holly, I looked it up. Holly is from Missouri. He's Missouri, yes. Josh Holly. But you're talking about Jim Jordan, yes.
Yes, and he said to her one time, I told you, blah, blah, blah. He let her go on, though. And, known she has spent $220 million on ads telling the people to go back to their country, and they can come in when they get it right. She's a big liar, also Caroline Levitt. These women have sold their soul to the junk man, as they say. And, Rev, I do have the telephone number for my cousin, so I can give it to the screener.
All right, give it to the screener, and I'll get it. No problem at all.
All right,
Thank you for your call.
Sure.
And
sure.
Let me take my break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Shopton, be right back. It is really a intersection of both emotions, because when I was 11 or 12 years old, so I watched the news a lot, and I became enthralled with the image of Adam Clayton Powell. I was around 11, and I convinced my mother to let me come up to this church to see Adam Clayton Powell. And in those days, people in Brooklyn used to say it's dangerous to go to Harlem. And folk in Harlem used to say it's dangerous to go to Brooklyn. Now, to 135th Street, and I sat right back there. And Adam Clayton Powell walked down this platform. And I remember after the church, in those days, Johnson, the pastor's study was right inside with the plexiglass. And I knocked on the door and I told the secretary I wanted to meet Reverend Powell. She looked down this little 11-year-old boy. She said, really? She said, who did I say? I said, Reverend Al Sharpton.
That law means dignity. Means we're gonna walk side by side with you, or through you. We're gonna be with dignity and integrity. We don't want any more than you have, and we're not gonna accept any less than you have. That's my thought.
London, yeah. We've got many problems there. We need you over our side. Yeah, you're invited anytime, please. Whenever you want to come.
There we go. Dice! What's up, Doc?
So we are in not a political dilemma, we are in a moral dilemma. And if the black church does not come with a prophetic voice, then who's going to do it? We can go through all the data, all the statistics, all we're going through in the workshops, but the question is, where is the action going to be? We all believe in Jesus. Jesus didn't teach theology, he healed people. And they learned the nature of the theology based on his healing. We've got to heal this nation. And if we heal this nation, the nation will return to our churches. But we've become silent and compromised. And we try to blame it on, I'm not in this. You are in this. You live it, your members live it. Unemployment now is higher now than it's been since the pandemic. Yet we survive. Yes, sir. There's no history in the world of any people that went through the kind of psychological, cultural, and physical slavery like blacks did in America. The only reason we're still here is because of our faith. We had no external strength. We had an internal strength. And it was the God that we were taught by our mamas and grandmamas that brought us through. And I don't care who's sitting in the White House, we cannot betray the God that brought us through.
One, two, three, I got the feeling. Hey, baby, baby, I got the feeling. How I got that feeling, yeah. Hey, got that feeling, y'all. Come on. Feeling, baby. Oh, I got the feeling, y'all. Okay, you put your hands together. I got the feeling. Oh, won't you say, baby, baby, I got that. Baby, oh, feeling, baby. Oh, hey, huh. Baby, 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 baby. Come on, sing it out. Baby, baby, come on. Can't hear you. Hey, I got that. Thank you so much. My name is True Osborne. Humbled and honored.
All right. Around this is so wicked. Now they're going to, they released last night a memo that said that the FBI was investigating Good. They're trying to come up with something on the victim. Not they're going to investigate who shot her. The ICE agent shooting in the head 3 times. They're going to investigate her. And you wonder why we need movements. You wonder why we need to stand up. Hakeem Jeffries was here Monday. Why we need to deal with this midterm election. Well, Reverend, I get calls on my radio show every day. Well, I don't see where voting changed something. Well, all right, let me tell you where if they lose the Congress this year, where it changes. The Speaker would be Hakeem Jeffries, who grew up right here in Name, as he said on Monday. The Speaker decides then the calendar for the legislative session. The chairs of the committees become Democrats. So the Judiciary Committee, now watch this in the barbershop. The chair of the Judiciary Committee, y'all saw the Judiciary Committee have the hearing and brought in the special counsel yesterday. Well, the chair this time, if the Democrats win, would be a Democrat who could then subpoena the Attorney General Bondi, all of the folks that were involved in January 6th. They can subpoena the vice, I'm your all host, of them. Because Reverend Al Sharpton, and you're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let me go to Demetrius in Cleveland, Ohio, WERE. Demetrius.
Hey, thank you, Reverend Sharpton. It's nice talking to you as usual.
Thank you.
I just have a few things to speak on. First off, concerning the presidents, I think that contribute. You know, all the presidents had some good policies and some bad policies, but some of them did some things that really, changed history, for African Americans and also for America total. I think, President Obama, he did an outstanding job. I may not agree with everything he did, but he did a lot of things, he's going to get recognition from, when it comes to, world peace in Africa and the Caribbean, South Africa, and also Europe and the Middle East. That's why he gets so much respect from around the world. And President Truman, he followed up after President Roosevelt, because Roosevelt put in a lot of policies when it came to integration in the military, when it came to the GI Bill, when it came to public housing. Even though he might have been forced to do some things because of World War II and also because of the rise of communism, and it was a threat in the United States, so he had to try to make, the environment better here in the United States. So he had to establish HUD and so forth. And Lincoln as well, he did contribute to ending slavery, and he had the black soldiers to fight. But I believe he was, in a way, he was forced to do that as well. Even though he might not agree with slavery, but I don't think he would have really took the action he taken unless he felt like it was just to save the country, so he took an extra step. And also, I just want to speak on, as American people, society, I think they have to value, not just people by their material, benefits of what they have materialized or where they come from, especially when it comes to the black people. We have to look at people, look at their character, also the rest of the country as well. So when I say look at people from the outside, same way they respect people from other countries, wearing their cultural clothes. You have the people from India, they still wear their clothes in certain environments. The people, the Jewish religion, they wear their kufis on top of their head, and people from the Middle East as well. So African Americans, we have to respect people not just because we feel like they should dress a certain way or they have to fit into a certain clique. We have to look at a person, their character, and what they contribute to society, and how they treat each other, and don't fall into the trap of the so-called slave masters. We don't want to imitate their behavior among our own people and among other races, oppress other races, because, and also hurt ourselves with street crime and violence. We don't have respect for ourselves because of the values that so-called slave master had. We have to have a whole new mindset. That's what the Bible says. You have to renew your mind. You have to renew your mind, because a lot of that stuff can be passed down through generations. Because if a child grew up in a house where there's violence or alcoholism, the child might not intentionally be like that, because around him he's going to imitate it. So you have to really look at himself as he grew up and try to not have that same mindset. So as Americans, we have to value the senior citizens. You don't look at them as not being valuable when they get a certain age. We call them old. You look at their intelligence, look at what they contribute, look at their value and their experience. And seniors have to look at the younger people as well, seeing things differently, because everything was not perfect in the past. Their mistakes were made, and some things was wrong with racism. It came to oppression. Because I went to an event over the weekend. Like I said, Roosevelt did some good things, but at the same time, the Japanese was interned, were in concentration camps in the West Coast. So a lot of things, I said some presidents did some good things, but at the same time, they did some things that was unfair. That we have to look at the both sides of the coin, but sometimes they do things that really benefited society, because the Affordable Care Act really benefited a lot of people. Because it's a lot of people get equal health care when they used to have to go through some of these clinics and they get medicine that had bad side effects, that cause people to suffer. But they could have went to a better clinic or a better hospital and get real medicine that wouldn't have a bad side effect. So for the Care Act, it really have helped a lot of people. Okay, thank you, Reverend Sharpton.
Thank you, and I think you covered a lot of ground. but we need to hear that appraisal, because I was thinking as you were talking, Demetrius, that there were several presidents, probably more than half, that I would agree with you, that was a mixed bag in terms of what they did. I'm not even talking about what they believed in, because I believe most presidents until the 20th century believed in slavery as an institution. And Lincoln came kicking and screaming. But even his vice president, who succeeded him after he was assassinated, believed in slavery and tried to revert everything Lincoln had laid out for Reconstruction. So I think you were wise and thoughtful to break down the good and the bad that they did, because that is just factually the case. Some things were good for the nation, some things were not good for the nation, and some things definitely wasn't good for black folks, even if it was good for the nation, because we didn't enjoy it, we weren't allowed to participate. It wasn't for us. And I don't think there's anything that is gained by self-delusion, by acting like they was talking about you when they weren't. You know, if you were standing in a crowded room and somebody started talking that wasn't talking to you, and you start talking back to somebody that wasn't talking to you, they would consider you a little crazy. I consider it a little crazy for us to act like some folk was dealing with us when they weren't, and had determined they weren't, and wanted to be clear that they were not seeing us as equal. That's the history. That's not race baiting. That's the history. All right, let's go to Rick in Germany. Rick in Germany, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good day, Reverend Sharpton.
Good day.
Personal short story and viewpoint. You know a little of my story and my claim that I was poisoned by Secret Services there in America. The doctors for 23 years have left me undiagnosed with intestinal parasites. Even here in Germany, where they're giving me a shot in the butt and allowing my wife to treat me with off-the-shelf vitamin C and other drugstore pharmaceuticals. I think what I'm trying to say is if these white, Jewish, and black women of the American Secret Services could poison Robert Novak for outing a female CIA agent, if these women could poison me for talking on Radio 1 stations about my life and Secret Services abuses in my childhood, then surely they can use NPR and CNN to get rid of the wealthy abuses in politics by informing the American public about what it takes to do such a thing. They could get rid of Trump and those wealthy who would rig the Congress and the White House after Trump. If they could do me in, they can get the wealthy out. I'm done, brother man.
All right, thank you for your call. And on our message board, Joanne Kemp is saying many of the previous presidents struggled with civil rights for black people, reluctant to do anything, primarily Lyndon Johnson for signing the Civil Rights Act for one, but hesitant to do more. Johnson was peculiar. Johnson was known to have used the N-word, became a late advocate for civil rights in the Senate, became vice president under John Kennedy. Kennedy expressed supporter of civil rights, but was killed before he could enact it. And even Kennedy was not all the way with it. Kennedy did not like the sit-ins in the South and was nervous about having to march on Washington in August of '63. He was killed that in November. But Johnson, to his credit, did put the Civil Rights Act through that Kennedy had started, and then came back and did the Voting Rights Act, and then came back and did the Open Housing Act. So legislatively, you got to give Johnson credit, though his personal leanings were different. I've got to agree with you there. Let's go to Ira in Washington, D.C. Ira, let's take a break first, and I'll come right back to Ira. And more of you on the phones and on the message board. It's President's Day. I'm live. Shopton. Keeping it real. Be right back. Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton for the month of February, Black History Month. The Saturday Action Rally will be at Mother AME Zion Church, 137th Street, between Lenox and 7th Avenues from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're glad as we transition into our new headquarters. Our 4 Saturdays of Black History Month, we'll be doing those rallies at Mother AME Zion. Stand on historic ground, holy ground, where Frederick Douglass spoke, where Madam C.J. Walker was funeralized, where Sojourner Truth had a Underground Railroad come through. I'm so excited about being there as it prepares us to move on to our new headquarters. Let's go back and stand on the rock that our people stood on for decades. As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Mrs. Coretta Scott King, who never has gotten the credit she deserves in being the force behind this movement. Congressman John Conyers, Stevie Wonder, and others. And Ronald Reagan, who had called Martin Luther King a communist, ended up being the president that had to sign the bill for Martin Luther King's federal holiday. The reason why we know struggle works is this holiday is a result of struggle, signed by a president that never thought it would be. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up to Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. But we gather this morning because everything Dr. King stood for is at risk. As we speak, we're waiting to see what the Supreme Court will do with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, one of the major achievements of the King movement. As we speak this morning, this sitting president has declared war on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is the core of the Civil Rights Act of '64. We are under attack, and we should not be taking this as a day off. This is a day on to fight to keep what was maintained. To see, I remember 6 years ago, Martin III and I were in Minneapolis leading the marches around George Floyd. I did the eulogy at his funeral. 6 years later, we see a white female, unarmed, killed in Minneapolis. We see people being racially profiled. We see that there are those that would want this to be the last federal holiday named after King. Don't you be deceived. This sitting president and his cohorts would want to end Martin Luther King Day. But just like we will not let them end this day, we will not let them end voting rights and Civil Rights Act and DEI. It's not enough to remember and honor the dreamer and let them kill the dream. And that's why National Action Network has every year started in Washington, D.C. with this breakfast, and then we go to New York with our public policy forum. And every year we try to set an agenda and go into April. We always have our national convention in April, which is the month Dr. King was killed, to say that they killed the dreamer, not the dream. And those of us that come out of that movement is going to continue to fight. This April will be our National Action Network is 35 years old in this April at our convention. One of the things, though, we've been most proud of is to try to keep the assignment that we were given. As I said, Mrs. Coretta Scott King never got the credit she was due. She's the matriarch of this movement. You must know that Dr. King was in Boston, had graduated Morehouse College, 19 years old, went to Boston University, an Ivy League school at a time many blacks couldn't get in them. Met a young lady who was in conservatory, is going to be an opera singer from Marion, Alabama, Coretta Scott King. They decided to go back south. A lot of blacks that went north and had their upper movement never wanted to go back south. But for whatever reason, Dr. King wanted to go back south. And Mrs. King stood right with him and went to Alabama and ran into history. It is always those that accept the calling that change history. And we should never forget the sacrifice made of Dr. Martin and Mrs. Coretta Scott King, because they did not have to go and lead a boycott. They were Boston University Conservatory graduates. They chose to fight. And when it fell their lot, they kept fighting. And even after Dr. King was assassinated, she kept the movement going. Martin III bonded me and his mother, and she used to reprimand me. Al, you got to be careful with your language. Al, I know you up north, but do this, that, and other. She got on me about being not only in the tradition in your actions, because we always was there, but even in your rhetoric. And it was because of that it meant so much. For the last 30 years, Martin and I have walked step by step together because we had that bond, and I felt that Mrs. King gave us that. He has kept this dream alive all over the world. He has worked with the offsprings of Mahatma Gandhi to keep this tradition going. But I thought I knew a lot about how God operates because I've been preaching since I was a little boy. So I thought I'd never see another person in the spirit of Coretta Scott King. But Andrea Waters King walks and talks and operates in the spirit of Mrs. Because sometimes I turn around and think Mrs. King is back. She is more adamant. When Martin and I are saying, well, I don't know about this, she gets us on the Zoom and zooms us up. Say, no, y'all got to do this and this way. So I want to bring, before we start the awards, to the stage the heirs of Dr. Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King, Andrea Waters King and Martin Luther King III.
Luther King Day. Because Martin Luther King died in Memphis fighting for wages for garbage workers. And I believe he would want those of us that come in his tradition to be standing with nurses and standing with those that should be getting wages for saving the lives and caring for people that the private hospitals and other
Keeping it real, keeping it real.
How can we spend King Day?
I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. It's Hot Button Monday and President's Day, and we're talking about certain of the issues of the day, and I've also asked you to tell me your top 3 presidents in American history and why. And as I said, I dealt with the last 5 presidents and varying views, various issues, differences. I did an hour on Morning Joe this morning, another one tomorrow, talking about this. One of the things, I'll give you an example, one of the reasons why I'm so clear about Trump is that George W. Bush, the last Bush, I marched on George Bush. We fought him on the Katrina disaster. I ran for president for the Democratic nomination to run against him, made my whole keynote speech that night against him, saying that our votes couldn't be bought. Yet, George Bush would have us to the White House, would hear our issues, united with us on some of the educational issues we agreed on, and was a genuine, decent person. He just said we disagree. And he would say in private, and very clear, that I disagree. I'm not going to patronize you and say something that I don't mean. Bill Clinton was a Democrat, agreed with us on many issues, but didn't agree on others. I marched on Bill Clinton about the omnibus crime bill and about the welfare reform bill, but always dealt with me fairly, Reverend. Invited me to, I would meet, other leaders would meet with him at the White House. So as I said, Clinton, Bush, certainly Obama, we had very, very much access and agreed on most issues. And where we disagreed, we talked it out. And then you get to Trump, who stands out as one who is full of vitriol and hate. I don't think we agreed on much of anything other than recovering COVID after he lied about that. And then Biden, who we had a good report. So I've been blessed to deal directly, consistently, not just once or twice, but over many periods of time with 5 presidents. It's one thing for me to say I don't think this person ought to be president. It's another thing for me to say I don't think this person has the quality and ability and mentality and temperament to be president. And I think that that is my problem with Donald Trump. I disagreed with a lot of what Clinton did. I agree with other parts. I adamantly disagreed with most of what Bush did, from Katrina to the weapons of mass destruction. But I think he had the intellect and ability to be president. I just think his judgment was wrong. I don't think Donald Trump has a level of temperament, intellect, or sensitivity to be president, which is scary to me. Anytime your own staff says you don't read the briefings and you run around with nuclear weapons at your disposal, that's scary to me. So all right, let's keep talking. Let me bring in our co-host. Kicks us off every Monday. Democratic strategist and founder and CEO of Blueprint Strategy LLC, and had him as a guest on Politics Nation last night. The one and only Antoine Seawright. How you doing, Antoine?
I'm one blessed little black boy, Reverend Al, because I was on with you last night, and as always, kicking off the week with you on Monday.
Glad to have you with us. Give me your top three presidents in American history.
Well, I am a FDR guy because of the New Deal.
Right.
I'm a Joe Biden guy because of what he did. He was a big freaking deal. And then, of course, because of the historical nature of Barack Obama, I'm certainly an Obama guy. But between FDR and Bill Clinton, they run hand in hand for me just because of the transformation landscape they provided for black people before there was a black president that you cannot compare to any other administration. And then came Joe Biden, who broke the mold.
Yeah, I think FDR is not given enough credit for what he did, and his wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, with Mary McLeod Bethune and others in the late 30s and 40s. I'm glad you brought that up. That's very true. Very true. All right, let's go to the phones. I was calling Ira before we had to go to break. Ira from Washington, D.C. You're keeping it real with Sharpton and Seawright.
Hey, good evening, Reverend Trump. Thanks for taking my call. I'm going to keep 5 minutes and 30 seconds today. I'm going to come off the break. This is what I got to go. My disclaimer is we don't have a president, so there is no president day for me, period. So that's my first disclaimer. The second thing that I want to come at you is a reminder from Fox News had paid $87.5 million for lying about the 2020 elections, and it's been fact-checked, so you can pull that up. And my last thing is, my second to last thing is that if you're turned away from the polls, anybody who's turned away from the polls, you have your response is to be, please give me a provisional ballot with the receipt as required by law. And that's what you have to tell them, because if not, they'll turn you away. So I want everybody to know that you have a right to get a provisional ballot. That's a public service announcement for that part, okay? Now, my three presidents that I'm going to go to with, and don't laugh at me, Mr. Sharpton, it is Al Sharpton, number one. You ain't got to ask no questions. Barack Obama, you ain't got to ask no questions. And Joe Biden, don't ask no questions. Anyone but 41 is going to be a president. My last thing, and then get to that, and then you comment. My last thing on that is that I saw an article about this gentleman on one of these Fox News network, Tony Holman. He was given free rein to run and say stuff on Fox News, claiming that Trump has found 145,000 children in Minnesota that the prior administration failed to do. It's not 147,000 people in Minnesota. So I got to come clean with that. You tell me if I'm not telling the truth or I'm not. I'm just imagining things. So that's my point for today, brother. And I'm going to come back tomorrow with something really, really important about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She lets the cat out of the bag, and I'm going to get you tomorrow, brother.
All right. Thank you for your call. One of the things, Antoine, the hearings last week, particularly the hearing of Attorney General Pam Bondi, got a lot of attention. I think the thing that was the most telling to me was not her rudeness and crudeness, but she would not even turn around and look at the victims when Congresswoman Pow asked her would she turn and look at them and apologize that they had not received justice yet. She wouldn't even look at them.
Well, the hearing was a theatrical masterpiece. We've never seen cabinet officials disrespect members of Congress who, by the way, jobs is to provide oversight to the executive branch like we've seen from this administration. To me, that was simply an audition for an audience of one, Donald Trump, for him to say, that a girl, keep doing what you're doing. Yet, these are the same people, including her, who were on the streets and beating down the social media pavement about the Epstein files, claiming they were on her desk, claiming that she was going to release them. J.D. Vance, all of them, they made this a campaign issue. Yeah, we've seen redactions. We've seen them slow walk this. We've seen them jaywalk this. We've seen them do everything but provide transparency and accountability when they put together a grassroots movement around the Epstein files. Democrats didn't want this. Democrats didn't ask for this. What we said is that's what you want to do, fine. And the American people decided that they were going to give them the ability to release them, and to do that by giving them the presidency, and yet they gave the American people, primarily MAGA right, the middle finger around the Epstein files. So I'm thankful that there's some bipartisan support in the Congress to vote legislatively to release the files. Now they have to go back and enforce what several judges have already indicated about releasing the files and doing away with some of the redactions that we've seen.
That means that clearly the Epstein files, which you correctly state, they made an issue. They said that they were leading Democrats that were being protected. They implied that Clinton and others was there. They made it an issue. Put it out. Put out all the files. Epstein was close with the big Democrats. And then when Trump got in, nothing. They wouldn't do anything. And they're still drib-drabbing. And he acts like it's a dead issue. And you know, I say I do morning thoughts every morning before dawn when I go to work out. And I said that, you know, the Bible says you'll be ensnared by the words of your mouth. They're being ensnared by their own action. They created the Epstein file issue. And now it's come back to bite them.
And Rev, think about this. They shut down the government to keep from releasing those files. They refused to swear in Representative Gravahalla because of those files. Donald Trump posted videos because of those files. They made a mockery of Leader Jeffries in a racial way because they did everything they could to prevent the American people from amplifying or from the Epstein files gaining wattage or being amplified in the public. And that's why we cannot fall for these distractions, because we know when they act out or when they get out of their crazy character, even in the worst way, it's usually to distract from the real issues that impact them that they made a promise on.
Yeah. I was reading this note. Someone's passed, all right, they're doing an updated press conference on Savannah Guthrie's mother. That's such a tragedy. Let's go back to the phone. Let's go to Dance. Dantes, any more I get on that, I will let the listening audience know. Dantes in Cleveland, Ohio. WERA. Dantes.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Dantes Taylor.
Okay.
Yes, and I would like to talk about precinct. How our precincts should be out there working for the people and making sure that that in the field they're making sure that boots are on the ground and making sure we get voting out there and other things that needs to be done in our communities, because a lot of precincts and a lot of wards and a lot of things, they don't tend to get the people out like we need to. And races in any state is very valuable to the people. They think that they're not getting their vote out. Their vote won't count, but it will. It will if you get out and cast it. You know what I mean? When you don't cast it, that's saying you don't care. And everything else out here in our American field out here and everything else. And we need to work together to figure out how to mass the people out to vote in any state.
Yeah, and every state. Well, thank you for your call. It is clear, Antoine, that primaries are coming up very quickly. I know I was talking to someone in our Chicago affiliate of NAN. There's like 3 or 4 weeks away, mid-March. Some before even NAN's convention. And explain why the primary process, voting in the primaries, is so important, because some people just wait on the general election.
Well, and Reb, I like to frame it in the way that the great Lou Stokes used to frame it in his day. In the primary, you make a choice. In the general election, you're given a choice. If you don't vote in the primary, then you can't be mad about who the Democratic nominee is in the general election. And that's why it's so important for us to participate in every aspect of the election, every single aspect of the election. And that includes, Reverend Al, registration, education, motivation, and participation. And we tend to only vote in the quote-unquote big elections. But, Rev, the one thing we've got to master in our community is voting in some of these down-ballot races and down-ballot primaries, because they have even more consequences than the quote-unquote big elections and the federal elections.
All right, let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, be right back.
Around this is so wicked. Now they're going to, they released last night a memo that said that the FBI was investigating good. They're trying to come up with something on the victim. Not they gonna investigate who shot her. The ICE agent shooting in the head 3 times. They're gonna investigate her. And you wonder why we need movements. You wonder why we need to stand up. Hakeem Jeffries was here Monday. Why we need to deal with this midterm election. Well, Reverend, I get calls on my radio show every day. Well, I don't see where voting changed something. All right, let me tell you where, if they lose the Congress this year, where it changes. The Speaker would be Hakeem Jeffries, who grew up right here in Name, as he said on Monday. The Speaker decides then the calendar for the legislative session. The chairs of the committees become Democrats. So the Judiciary Committee, now watch this in the barbershop. The chair of the Judiciary Committee, y'all saw the Judiciary Committee have the hearing and brought in the special counsel yesterday. Well, the chair this time, if the Democrats win, would be a Democrat who could then subpoena the Attorney General Bondi, all of the folks that were involved in January 6th. They can subpoena the Vice President, all of them, because you've got the power of the gavel. Wonder why nobody has asked Pence how he felt running for his life January 6th. Well, if you get the Judiciary Committee, you can subpoena Pence.
This is a defining moment. As our world faces urgent challenges, the movement comes together. National Action Network's 35th anniversary and convention, April 8th through the 11th. Leaders, activists, and community voices united for justice and change. The moment is now. Be in the room.
Thing past hope. Because, I grew up, like I said, single mama on welfare. And my mother told me there's a part in life that hope's gonna run out. But she told me you got a double barrel in your engine. I said, what is that? She said, you can switch from hope to faith. Faith is a little deeper than hope. Bishop Hilliard is here. Faith is when hope runs out. Faith is the substance of things. Hope for the evidence of things not seen. Faith is when we were emancipated after 246 years of slavery and walked off the plantations with no education, no money, no future. And we built black churches and black colleges and black fraternities. We had faith. Faith made us stand up to the most powerful nation in the world and turn it around. Faith means we went from the back of the bus to the front of the White House. We come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord, trusting in His holy word. He never failed us yet. is the dreamers in many cases have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street. Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life. Both historic, strong figures. But if I misuse them and listen to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke. Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton for the month of February, Black History Month. The Saturday Action Rally will be at Mother AME Zion Church, 137th Street, between Lenox and 7th Avenues from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're glad as we transition into our new headquarters. Our 4 Saturdays of Black History Month, we'll be doing those rallies at Mother AME Zion. Stand on historic ground, holy ground, where Frederick Douglass spoke, where Madam C.J. Walker was funeralized, where Sojourner Truth had a Underground Railroad come through. I'm so excited about being there as it prepares us to move on to our new headquarters. Let's go back and stand on the rock that our people stood on for decades.
This is the first Thanksgiving I'm here in New York. Over 20 years. I'm just glad to be here with Rev today and to hand out the food. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
It's Erica Ford, the Peace Doctor in the building. Here at the National Action Network, it's about thanks. It's about giving. It's about gratitude. It's about love. I feel it is important for you to understand that there's work out here to be done, but it starts with gratitude, it starts with giving, it starts with peace, it starts with love. Let's go.
Before we feed our family, we got to make sure that we feed the community. That's right. That's what it's all about. We got to come with sharp phones. You come and you make sure you show up, serve the community. That's what it's all about.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let's go back to the phone. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is. You know, every day, Monday through Friday, I do 3 hours a day on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. I do 1 hour on Sunday mornings with Reverend Al Sharpton. And I'm live on radio and TV with the Saturday Action Rally. 7 days a week, I talk to our people hear from them, to call in. I'm sick and tired of people talking for people that they don't talk to. So go on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Listen to my show, call in, express your opinion. You don't have to agree with me. But let's start talking to each other rather than about each other and lecturing at each other. Let's keep it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. And we are a co-host and Seawright. Antoine Seawright. Let me read from our message board. Joanne Kemp is saying, how about Christy Nome and her blanket initially firing her own pilot, but had to hire him back? I mean, this is one of the most bizarre stories I've heard, and I've heard a lot down through the years. Apparently, they had to switch planes because of a plane malfunction. The assistant, who was also co-pilot, forgot to bring her blanket off of the plane that was dysfunctional to the new aircraft picking her up. And she said, where's my blanket? He said, oh, we must have left it on the other plane. Oh, you're fired. And found out he's the guy that had to help fly her. And Corey Lewandowski. I mean, but again, I'm not surprised, because when you deal with the temperament and behavior of the president, he's going to hire people that have similar temperaments and similar ways of thinking and behaving. I mean, why would it make him uncomfortable? But it's just bizarre, and that's the characters. I'm trying to. It's not only the characteristics, but it's a character profile. Let me put it that way. That we're dealing with, Antoine, in Washington. These people not only have no good policy, they have no class.
Well, they also have no good intentions. In order to work for or work with Donald Trump, you have to pledge your first allegiance to Donald Trump and his causes. They understand that. They know that. Unlike the first iteration of his administration or his cabinet, there were some somewhat decent people who had professional backgrounds, some lens of seriousness to them, and some who did not mind pushing back because they cared about the institution we know as America, and they also understood the guardrails and the separation of powers. This iteration of his administration is total opposite. And Rabbi, like as Michelle Obama said at one point in time, the presidency does not change who you are, it reveals who you are.
Right.
These cabinet jobs does not change who people are, it reveals who they already were, and now we're just being exposed to it. And shame on any Democratic senator who voted to confirm any of these unqualified, unserious people, regardless of what the institution may have allowed in the past, because Republicans would have not done the same. No way RFK should be the HHS secretary right now. No way Christian Nome should be DHS secretary right now.
Absolutely agree. Let's go to Disco Brian in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, WURD. Disco Brian.
Gracious to be here with such moral clarity and leadership. Rev, on Friday, you and I were discussing the danger of Rogan in the manosphere before another caller called to say how he was a big fan of the manosphere and proceeded to spew a bunch of garbage about Jasmine Crockett and brag about how he was donating money to her Democratic primary challenger. Someone I would say is the poster child of white mediocrity, James Tallarico. But Rev, Rogan, as we were talking about before he kind of derailed the discussion, and other people brought up on Friday, Rogan has repeatedly platformed Elon Musk, of course, including on the day before the 2024 election, when both warned that a President Harris administration would target them and claimed that only Trump could, quote, save democracy. And then Rogan endorsed Trump that same day, a move many analysts believe influenced the election outcome. And then, of course, after attending the inauguration in 2025, Rogan later laughed with Musk, who came back on the show, about Musk's widely condemned arm gestures, which historians and authoritarianism scholars have compared to Hitler-era salutes. Rev and Antoine, I don't know if you've seen this. I hate to bring it up, but it seems important. Musk just posted this yesterday on Twitter. Quote, "For a country to survive, there has to be a common culture. Nobody dies to defend a, quote, multicultural economic zone." And here is the most important part of the tweet. Quote, "American culture with its English, Scots, Irish origin is great and worth fighting for." Once again, gentlemen, that is a quote from Rogan's best friend, Elon Musk. And Rev, you have brought up agreeing and disagreeing with past presidents today. And I want to thank Antoine for acknowledging Joe Biden as having broken the mold on the question of DEI and civil rights. But I also want to disagree sharply with one of my favorite living legends who happened to be president, Barack Obama, especially on the question of Joe Rogan. On the Mark Moran podcast a few months ago, President Obama defended Bernie Sanders for going on Rogan's show. And my question for the president or either of you gentlemen or anyone for that matter is this. What is there to be gained from pro-democracy advocates or civil rights leaders, although they're never invited, what is to be gained from going on to the Joe Rogan show only to laugh with him and find common ground with him as Bernie and James Tallarico have done? I would love an answer to that question, gentlemen, if you have it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for your call. We'll talk about it after the break. Let's take a break. Keeping it real. Shopton. See right. Be right back.
Good morning, everybody. Governor Westmore. And as a former honoree of the National Action Network's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast, I want to begin by recognizing the leadership of this great organization. My guy, Reverend Sharpton, you're one of a kind. You've dedicated your life to safeguarding and advancing Dr. King's legacy, and I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine. I also want to thank Ebony Riley and her team and Andrea Waters King and the entire King family. Your work continues to shape national conversations about equity and justice, and you inspire so many to pursue their own path in public service. And finally, I am thrilled to congratulate today's Visionary Award recipient, my guy, Mayor Brandon Scott. Mr. Mayor, you deserve this honor. Your leadership is turning your vision for Baltimore into a Baltimore where we can all thrive, helping to drive down historic lows in crime. A Baltimore that has one of the fastest growing economies in the country. You've been an incredible partner in this work, my man. A strong leader for the city, and most importantly, a devoted friend and father. So congratulations, Brandon. And thank you to everyone here who is working to strengthen our communities, to broaden opportunities, and most importantly, to serve the people.
Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton for the month of February, Black History Month. The Saturday Action Rally will be at Mother AME Zion Church, 137th Street, between Lenox and 7th Avenues from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're glad as we transition into our new headquarters. Our 4 Saturdays of Black History Month, we'll be doing those rallies at Mother AME Zion. Stand on historic ground, holy ground, where Frederick Douglass spoke, where Madam C.J. Walker was funeralized, where Sojourner Truth had an Underground Railroad come through. I'm so excited about being there as it prepares us to move on to our new headquarters. Let's go back and stand on the rock that our people stood on for decades.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
Racial discord, a blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
and
a race baiter.
Yeah, right. I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are, and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be
Keeping it real. I'm your host.
He was very close
Reverend
to
Al Sharpton.
William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social
Antoine
justice.
Seawright is our co-host. And let me say again, by way of announcements, Don't forget to watch Politics Nation every Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now, formerly MSNBC, MS Now. And we had a great weekend. We had everyone on from ranking member of Homeland Security, Congressman Benny Thompson, the chair lady of the Women's Democratic Caucus in Congress. We had Keith Ellison, the Minnesota Attorney General, on. We had the governor of Kentucky on. So we had Antoine Seawright on. I don't waste your time. I get the heavyweights on to talk about what matters, not gossip, not having some of my buddies pontificating on how bright they are, but governors, congressmen, what is going on? Why are we not getting relief? What is happening with this, that, or the other? So watch Politics Nation every Saturday and Sunday, and many of you I know do because I read the ratings every Tuesday, and they're very encouraging, but we won't even do more. And you that in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, meet me at the Saturday Action Rally in Harlem. For the month of February, we're at the historic Mother Amy Zion church where Frederick Douglass spoke, church where Paul Robeson was a member. His brother was pastor. In fact, somebody sent me a video of Paul Robeson talking about this church. I'm going to post it on my social media. And Madam C.J. Walker was funeralized there. Sojourner Truth came through that church going north. And it was at the altar of that church she changed her name to Sojourner Truth from her slave name. So it's in that historic setting we're doing our Black History Month Saturday Action rallies as we go through the transition to our new headquarters that you're going to really like. And, of course, the National Action Network Convention, April the 8th through the 11th in New York. All the sessions, workshops, and all free. And I want you to sign up. We are very close to capacity in terms of our sign-up list. We're like at about close to 4,500. 5,000, I cut it off because you have to have room for the students that are coming from our tour, from people just in the tri-state area that's going to come. We had over 10,000 people come through the convention last year. I'm sure we'll do more. This is our 35th anniversary, and we have these kind of sign-ups, and I haven't even announced who's coming. No speaker, no workshop, no entertainer. So it's the strength we've built in 35 years. So make sure you're there, if not the whole 4 days, 1 day, half a day, 3 days. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And I see Juanita Jones on our message board saying, good day. They pulled you off, and I can't read it now. Okay, there she go. Good day, Rev. I enjoy you on Morning Joe. Admittedly, I only watch when you're on because I know you are going to drop the words of wisdom and make statements that are applicable to pressing issues. Well, I try to do that. I'll be on again in the morning. I was on this morning. Let me go back to something that Disco Brian said. In fact, Trisha 1989 says on the message board, I agree with you, James Thomas, Disco Brian. These far lefties are down here in this Crockett versus Tallarico race. If you see the amount of money he has raised compared to Crockett's, it's insane. You know, the whole question of progressives and I've always raised around the country and in New York is progressive for who? Because I have found as many reactionary and dictatorial and inflexible people that call themselves progressive as I have conservatives. And I have found that a lot of their ranks is not inclusive. And they're quick to say that our black elected officials are too moderate. Moderate for who? About what? And a lot of them do not understand we have to deal with balancing racism and our economic status and our positions on other things. Where they don't have to do that, they can go home, many of them, and deal with a very comfortable life. So it's in that context when Disco Bryant raised the question about going on Joe Rogan. I think that that some people go on any station or any show because they have to try to get votes, even if they think only 10% of that audience is even open to them. If you got close election, 3 of those votes matter. Some others can afford to say, I'm being selective. I'm going to do whatever I want to do and not do because I don't need to win votes. I don't need everybody. So, you know, I have, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about whether or not Bernie or whoever went on Joe Rogan. Now, if they went on there changing and they went on there genuflecting, then I do have a problem with that. But I didn't hear it. I didn't see it. And but I think it was in that context, Brian, that maybe Obama defended him. I don't know. I've never been invited to Joe Rogan. Don't know. I certainly never pitched to go on. And if you invite me on, I don't know. I'd have to know the rationale why I should do it. Before I did MSNBC, I went on Bill Riley's many times. I went on Sean Hannity many times. And a lot of the reasons I did is because I wanted their audience to hear the other side. And if I only got 3%, it was worth it if we were trying to win an election or get some legislation. So I have mixed feelings about it. Strategically, sometimes you got to do things that emotionally you don't feel comfortable with. Antoine, your answer?
Well, Rep, you leave no battery uncharged. And I believe that you should go everywhere and speak to everyone in order to win over the possibilities. I appear on Fox News on occasion. I go on conservative radio when invited. I will go anywhere and speak to anyone with respect. And I say with respect because I won't tolerate disrespect on air. The problem is when we operate in a silo and we don't take the opportunity to go on these networks, these extremists or these independent thinkers, they only hear one side and they take that as a political gospel. So I think it's important to give them an option and an alternative. And what I figured out is that you take Joe Rogan's show, you take some of the Fox News programs, believe it or not, their audiences tend to be filled up with African-American men and working class folks who we need to win over as Democrats. So I think it's important that we show up in places, not just from a new media standpoint or media standpoint. That includes going and knocking on doors in conservative areas. That also includes communicating with them because, believe it or not, this right-wing extreme agenda that's in place by the majority party and this president is hurting conservatives in the same way it's hurting Democrats. Now, they don't talk about it out loud, but I just went back to the 18.2 million Americans in red states who are seeing their premiums, co-pays, and deductibles skyrocket because these extremists don't want to expand those tax credits that are aligned with the Affordable Care Act. That's important. And they need to know that their insurance companies, their insurance prices, premiums, co-pays, and deductibles are going to go up simply because the party they voted for is in charge and won't do anything about it. Same thing with farmers, same thing with union folks and so forth. So I think it's important to take our message everywhere.
Yeah, I like I said, before I was at MS, I would do that. But again, I don't jump at every opportunity either because you don't want to sanitize some filth at the same time. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Shopton. Be right back.
I wanted to come today on Martin Luther King Day. Because Martin Luther King died in Memphis fighting for wages for garbage workers. And I believe he would want those of us that come in his tradition to be standing with nurses and standing with those that should be getting wages for saving the lives and caring for people that the private hospitals and other hospitals seem not to care about. How can you spend King Day and turn your back on people that are working and not insured right and not given the right wages and not given the right respect when they're taking care of our afflicted, our ill, our infirm? In the name of Martin Luther King, I join the nurses in demanding justice for the nurses. This is not only a labor issue, this is a civil rights issue. This is a human rights issue. It's an issue that black and white, Latino, Asian, all can stand together. Because those that want to make profits out of people's illness, rather than pay for those that care for them, that stand for them, that are there when their families are not there in some cases. So we had to come on King Day. Many of the dignitaries came to the House of Justice, but I left to come and stand here with them to let them know that Martin Luther King Day is a day to stand up for those that are standing in the cold, but they never left the patients in the cold. No justice. No peace. 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 All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sharpton. Thank you. Thank you.
Reverend Sharpton, how do we begin to make peace with our past?
I don't think it's our obligation to make peace with our past. I think it's our obligation to learn from our past and to understand that soon we gonna be the past. I mean, a lot of us act like we gonna be permanent and that the past is the past. If we draw on the strengths of the past and uphold the dignity and the integrity of our people, and then perform it at our highest level in our generation, as Dr. Moss said, that's our obligation. You know, one of the reasons that I've been so concerned about this cultural tone that we're in now is a lot of us have lost the dignity that our community has shown from Jamestown to now. I've questioned some of the artists that no longer sing to uplift us. And there's never been a generation that didn't use our music and our culture to lift us up. And the excuse is where they say, well, we just want to show what's there. But we never just accepted what was there. We always looked at what was there and looked through it and brought our people the way it needed to be. So in slavery time, we were singing Go Down Moses and Swing Low Sweet Chariot. We wasn't singing about the cotton picking nigga in the field. That's what we saw, but that's not what we sang. In slavery, in segregation time, In segregation time, we were singing "We Shall Overcome." Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. We wasn't singing "The Hole in the Back of the Bus." So where is this coming from? And that's what we need to challenge. I wish, all of this about our friend Barack announcing today, I wish Obama had announced here, because Lincoln did not free us. The abolitionist movement freed us. Lincoln accommodated to freedom fighters. He was not a freedom fighter. Kennedy accommodated the king. Johnson accommodated the king. We got to quit giving the wrong people credit for our history.
So we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir. We were with gold. Yeah, we was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation. Wow. And that's, of course, that's the slave house. That's one of the slave houses.
Sir, it's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you been?
Doing fine.
Right, last time. And we,
Alexander Shaw. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have a slave.
Yeah, that's when, exactly. That was, exactly.
The two people that most influenced my life were from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road with me. I went over his mother's funeral. Jesse walked me to my mother's casket. From South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James. Yeah. Civil rights, shoulders.
But also where your people from too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And when I knew Jesse was from James, I started Brother.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about him in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, 06. And they came to do the story for February of 07. They came in January. His daughter swear that was his daddy and him and pushing the information out.
Wow.
And I called Jesse and told me, you know that my great-grandfather was a slave about 45, because Greenville right up to I-20. He said, I told you we was connected. That's why you gotta listen to me. But
Welcome back, everybody. My next guest is a TV and radio personality. He's an activist and the author of a new book, The Rejected Stone, Al Sharpton and the Path to American Leadership. Please welcome my friend, Reverend Al Sharpton. Ram, how you doing?
Good.
Look at you. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are
Boy,
you?
you getting sharper and sharper.
No, I'm trying to be like you.
Man, I'm trying to get my weight together, man. You look good. How much weight have you lost?
All told, about 120 pounds.
That's been great, man. You know, I'm gonna get into this book, but I gotta tell you, man, I really do appreciate
you, sir.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host,
man that is really good.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. Antoine Seawright is our co-host, as he is every Monday, and gives us his insights and commentary. Let's go to Todd in Cleveland, Ohio. Todd.
Okay, you should be able to hear me now.
I hear you, yes.
All right, Reverend Al Sharpton, Antoine Seawright. So I commonly call on President's Day. I do have something I want to finish with you and Jennifer on Thursday as it applies to a policy that we were discussing. But here are my three presidents, and I've done a pretty thorough study of 11 presidents that existed that were not in my lifetime. So I'm only going to be able to talk on authority of 3 out of those 11, and that's Garfield, Truman, and Grant. I don't believe we've had a president that's been more pro-black than Garfield, and the evidence is overwhelming that my statement is true. Garfield didn't get a chance.
Give me your backup data on why we did not have a president more pro-black than
Garfield. It was the adverse conditions that he lived in and promoted the well-being and the advancement and freedom of black people in this country. As a president of Hiram College, he educated them. He understood that there were only subtle differences between the black population and the white population, and almost all of it was related to the fact that they weren't allowed to be given a fair chance. When he was a brigadier general, he's out there fighting for the cause of black freedom. He was the only general that refused to send back any slaves of any of the battles that he won. He won all his battles in Kentucky. He sent everybody back up through the network that he was connected with in the Underground Railroad through Ohio. When he was in Congress, he was a radical Republican, and Garfield believed wholeheartedly in the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. He was involved in pushing having those amendments created and then pushed through Congress. He was also, when he was in Congress, he was the you should have seen, I got a copy of that speech that he gave when they were putting together the first Department of Education, how he believed that the black population needed to be more involved in order to move our economy forward. And that's part of what he was talking about when he helped move in the Department of Education. And then after that, after the crisis of 1876, Garfield led the team of investigators that went down into the South and proved that they had been rigging the elections. They were killing people, they were blocking people from being able to vote, and they were throwing votes out. Garfield was the lead of the team of the investigators, and that's before he got into the White House. And when he got into the White House, before they killed him, he was already putting in place ambassadors, black people that were ambassadors to other countries, and he was turning over a way that we hire people hire people for the government workers, so that there'd be more black people that could get in. And we should note that a lot of black people made it up into and through the middle class as a result of working in the federal government. And when Chester Arthur took over after Garfield was murdered, a lot of Chester Arthur's policies were Garfield's policies that he just pushed through. Garfield was a pro-black and under very adverse conditions. So I wish more people knew about him, for real. But then I would say Truman, because Truman was a practical man that knew how to move in a way that it wasn't obvious what he was doing, but still obviously moving what he wanted to move forward. He was actually more of a spy spy in the Ku Klux Klan as opposed to being a part of the Ku Klux Klan. He really was. And there's records of what happened to some of those people that were in the Ku Klux Klan that had contact with him after he moved a little bit further up into the government. And he did sign that executive order that he helped put together to make sure that the military got desegregated. He tried to advance Social Security. He tried to increase the minimum wage. He tried to increase fair housing. And he made it openly that he was pushing for. He didn't get it the way that he wanted it to go. He was moving forward Roosevelt's fair deal and Eleanor Roosevelt's fair deal, as far as I'm concerned. I put her in there, even though she wasn't an elected official. And then there's Grant. Grant had an understanding that was clear that our economy moved forward with all of us involved, not just white people, not just black men. And unfortunately, he had some people that were working aggressively against him. Again, these are adverse conditions. The war just recently ended, and the South really hadn't quit. The ones they knew how to undermine if they couldn't win a fist in a gunfight, in a cannon fight. So those are my three right there. And
yeah, I think, thank you for your call, Todd. I think, Antoine, that people don't realize and are not educated to the fact how race was such a thread throughout American history. And that, for example, John Wilkes Booth, who killed Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln went out to a opera near the White House, and John Wilkes Booth was the star of the show and jumped up and shot Lincoln as Lincoln was sitting in a booth around the Confederacy. Booth was a racist and member of the Confederate. All of this through history, race was a dominant factor, which is why I have a problem with some that call themselves progressives that do not deal with the issue of race. Some do, many do, and work with us. But then some don't and act like it's only about class and not race. And they say, no, we handle race fighting classism. Not dealing with the fact that you could be the wealthiest black in America and still be treated second-class citizens compared to some low-income white guy in a red state. And they do not want to deal with that, and I've got a problem with that.
Well, I appreciate the Truman reference because, as you know, it was Sergeant Isaac Woodard, black soldier who came back home to Batesburg, Leesville, South Carolina, not far from Edgefield, where your roots are,
right,
who wanted to wanted to simply use the public restroom, but he was beaten with a billy club by two police officers, poked his eyes out. When Truman got the word that the decorated soldier who came home from war, eyes were poked out and was beaten bloody and taken to jail, that forced him to integrate the armed services, and people like my father and others were able to serve. So I appreciate the Truman reference. But I think you're spot on. What I've seen in my political lifetime, particularly working in politics for over 20-some years now, is the fact that white working class or white progressives want to tell black people how to be progressive.
Right.
We're black. We've had the struggles and issues in this country since our arrival. And who can be more progressive than black people? We had to fight for our right to vote. We had to fight for our very existence. We had to fight for some of the things that they were naturally born with and inherit. So our progressive does not look like they're progressive. The difference between us and them is we tend to be pragmatic progressives, meaning realistic in our expectations because we've been treated like second-class citizens in most cases by some who are supposed to be sharing the same ideology and politics as us, but want to do it when it's convenient.
That's right. I totally agree with everything you said. Let's go to Chicago, my friend, the activist extraordinaire of the Midwest, Pam. Sister Pam, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and Seawright.
Hello, Reverend Sharpton. How are you? And hello, Antoine Seawright. How are both of you?
Doing well, doing well.
Good. Overall, we're well here in Chicago. Got early voting coming up. Primaries, I think, on the 17th.
Yeah, mid-March, 17th. That's
yes,
right.
I believe so. So, U.S. Senate up for grabs, and really just trying to get all the information and want to make the most informed choice. As it relates to today being President's Day, I would have to say FDR, I would have to say Biden, and I would have to say Obama. Not necessarily in that order, but just looking at President Reverend Sharpton, who really tried to deal with some equity. Didn't always get it right, but they at least tried to deal with it and were able to push forth some policies and legislation to address the issues. I mean, health care, that's about equity. You have nothing without your health. I don't care if you're black, Jewish, Asian, white, I don't care. So I'm always interested in presidents who wanted to invest in safety nets to make the country better, to make people's lives better. And so for me, that's been recently those in the Democratic Party. But like I say, you know, not perfect, but certainly willing to work on some things. So, Antoine, I wanted to ask you, with the mobilization of voters as we're coming upon the elections, do we have any insight as to how we're trying to mobilize the almost, 400,000 or 300,000 black women who were fired from the federal payroll, and I think it was up to almost 150 black men. So is there any way that we're trying to tap into that group of people so we can mobilize them and hear their voices? That's one. Reverend Sharpton, I just wanted to say, Fonnie Willis, let us not throw that sister to the wolves. She did the right thing. She may have made a mistake, but she was on point with her moving forward to try to convict the adjudicated sexual abuser and his cronies. So that's two. Two more issues I'm going to put on the table. Tariffs. Antoine, is the Democratic Party talking about tariffs? The report just came out, Reverend Sharpton. Guess who's paying 90% of the tariffs?
Yeah, 90% by American citizens. That's right.
Thank you. But see, I don't hear the other side talk about that. I don't hear them talking about this was a big grift and con so the retailers could make enough money. Because remember, they had already gouged us with COVID.
Right.
So we're paying the tariffs, and of course the media isn't reporting it, so we're going to need the Democratic Party to step it up and talk about it. I know there are many issues on the table.
Let's take a break. I'm going to hold you over, Pam, because I want you to finish, and I want Antoine and I to respond to what you said. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Shopton, be right back. Hi, it's Reverend Al Sharpton, President and founder of National Action Network. We are at the very end of 2025, and I want to first say that I want to thank all of the officers, chapter leaders, regional directors, national staff, and certainly National Board of National Action Network for a solid and absolutely incredible year in 2025. Despite the fact that we are under assault, voting rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the battles globally where we're seeing Nigeria and Venezuela attacked, and on and on and on. We have been steadfast as an activist organization in the tradition of Dr. King. We started the year with a national call that thousands responded to, and we were in Washington on our side of town while Trump was being inaugurated on the other side of town. And we made a pledge. We told people to lift their hand and make the pledge. And we kept that pledge to work all year to keep the dream alive. And that led into when Trump went after DEI, we supported some that were boycotting, and we started boycotting, something that had never happened. We said we're going to go buy from those that have committed to keep DEI, and went in several cities around Costco's and shopping. We've now bought stock in other companies. We're going to shareholder meeting and demand they continue DEI. We've had a sensational National Action Network convention covering the span of activity, from political empowerment to education, to how we deal with the black church, how we deal with black women development that has to deal with both discrimination based on gender and race. And of course, we came to Wall Street by the thousands and marched in late summer on the anniversary of the March on Washington. And people thought you could not get people out, and they came from all over the country. And we marched on Wall Street and had an enormous turnout. The only mass black march, black-led march this year. We had a lot of protests, a lot of marches. I salute all No Kings marches and all. But the black organization march, they welcomed everybody. We had white, black, everybody there. Was our march on Wall Street in August. And then our Triumph Award and on into our fall agenda of organizing, mobilizing. We've expanded. We've started chapters in about 12 new cities. So I am proud of what we've done this year, but it's only the beginning because our very rights are under attack, and they're not even being quiet about it. They want to revoke the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 may fall with this bill. They want to end the Civil Rights Act of 64. That's what the end of DEI is about. So let us be more alert and active than ever. History will decide whether the civil rights gains of the 50s and 60s died in the 2020s. That's on your watch and mine. So if we've got to march, we have to protest, we have to lobby, we have to rally, whatever we need to do, we need to put our shoulder to the wheel more than ever. I'm going to lay out a plan on King Day, both in Harlem at our annual event and in Washington at our annual Martin Luther King Day breakfast that we do in D.C., two cities. And then, of course, all roads lead to New York to paper for our convention. We had, as I said, the largest attended convention last year in 2025. It needs to be more this year because our very existence is at stake. We also are closing our negotiations on a new headquarters, our national headquarters that befit our mission. I'm so excited about it, but I can't give you details. We're just about ready to sign the contract, but it will be something that will last longer than many of our lifetimes. So we came alive in 25, despite a hostile administration, despite the fact that a lot of people were intimidated and spooked into silence. We came alive in 25. Now we have to straighten out tricks. 26. I need you. We need each other. Let's do this. All these tricks, don't forget, Trump only won by 1.5%. He is trying to act like he has a mandate. No, he has a mission, Project 2025. We have the mandate that we can't let them undo what has been done. And we must even go further for the empowerment of all people. Happy New Year, and be focused.
That I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
I'll tell you that.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of life into our community. But as long as we are disconnected, the wind can't blow because it's news is that we're the children of people that have been through worse than this, and we're still here. So even though I get despondent, I don't ever get depressed, because I want the world to know you won't beat us, because we're the children of those that took the worst form of slavery and brutality that ever lived, that ever existed. Our parents survived the Middle Passage. Only the strong got here, and then we lost our name, our culture, our religion, and we're still here. But you don't know who we are. We're the children of Chaka Zulu. We're the children of Mary McLeod Bethune. We're the children of Marcus Garvey. We're the children of Martin Luther King. We'll be here. We were first, and we'll be last. We know who we are.
King, Dr. Richardson, most of all, let me thank Reverend Al Sharpton for bringing us all here together today. In the Urban Action Network, I am proud to be a candidate for the presidency of the United States of America. But I am mindful that I wouldn't be here if it had not been for Reverend Al Sharpton running for president, and Carol Moseley Brown running for president, and Jesse Jackson running for president, and Shirley Chisholm running for president. They paved the way, and I stand on their shoulders.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
I celebrate the day you were born. You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton.
Address.
Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Antoine, I think we had some questions raised by Todd. You want to go first?
Well, Rev, I think I think we put a bow on Todd. Pam had some questions.
I'm sorry, I said Todd. I meant Pam.
Yeah, Pam had some questions about what we're doing about the 300,000 black women that have been dismissed from government. How are we engaging them, and then of course the one of the more consequential issues that our party is facing, and how we engage black men. I think the answer is the same. I think we have to meet them where they are. We've got to talk to them and talk at them. I can tell you, not just by way of the Democratic Party, because not everybody subscribes to party politics at this point, and that's fine. But there are other like-minded organizations and groups who are working with some of these folks and targeting these folks to let them know that not only is their survival tied to these elections and how they participate and if they participate, but also their well-being. And how they function and flow. And I think that was part of the disconnect in the past two election cycles. We took some constituencies for granted. We did not communicate to them that not only are Republicans bad, but what we're going to do for them, their families, and their communities, but also keeping them engaged and informed in a true relationship format. Relationships takes communication. It takes spending time, but it also it requires you to stay engaged and stay involved. And I think we've done a piss poor job on the relational building part, and I think we are learning our lessons from the last election cycle. If that answers your question, Pam.
I think that generally I agree with that before Pam responds. But I also think one of the things we're going to be doing at National Action Network's convention is a two-pronged strategy. And that is that one, Pam and Antoine, we've got to go back and energize our regular base that's been neglected. And I'm talking about the people in the barbershops, the beauty parlors that go to church, your regular core that has felt that we are so busy going to others that we may or may not get, that we neglect dealing with on-the-ground stuff with on-the-ground people every day. We're going to have one sense of how to organize that, and then the other sense is how we reach out to younger voters, women voters, and et cetera, that have not been engaged. One of the things that we've seen, and I've been looking at the data from the HBCU tour that National Action Network's been doing with Reverend Cassius Rudolph on our staff, and I've done maybe 3 or 4 of the cities. I'm going to do 3 or 4 more, but they've been doing, they're going to do up to 18 cities. A lot of our young people in these colleges are not involved because no one came to get them, and no one came to talk to them, and no one has exposed them to the issues and how it directly affects them. So we get the perception, because we see some young students maybe demonstrating on campus, that all the students in the school is with that, when they're not even aware of the issues and how it applies to them. So I think we got to go down to back to some basic organizing and some basic information. I ask people when I go and preach at various churches how involved they are. Their churches are not involved. Church attendance is down across the country, white and black. But it's still the largest weekly gathering place black folks attend. There's nothing else that black folks do at those numbers, though they were not what they were 40 years ago. They're more than anything else. Why would you write that off? And I think that is why I agree with Antoine, Pam, that a lot of the progressives, even though I may agree with some of their policies, some I don't, but they have no familiarity with our culture. So they talk for us and at us and not to us.
I appreciate the response of both of you, and so I'm going to try to engage the younger people as much as I possibly can. One other issue I wanted to talk about, when you said should Democratic, elected officials or candidates go on Republican platforms, conservative platforms, I would trust you doing that, Reverend Sharpton. I would trust Antoine doing that. All of the elected officials, I'm not so sure, and I'll give a specific example. Gavin Newsom was on with Bannon, and I guess the conversation was flowing. Then Bannon made a very racist statement in calling Senator Warren Pocahontas. And instead of Governor Newsom responding and saying that, no, that's not, he just laughed it off. We cannot have that kind of response. And I know when you go on these conservative platforms, you have to go with facts, but that's not the purpose that, those hosts want you on there. They want you to slip up and do just what Gavin Newsom did. So we can't have Democratic representatives doing that. It has to be real, and it has to be factual, and they have to stand up for what is right in these platforms as you try to win over conservative independents and others.
Yeah, I think that is right, and I think that's why I say I have mixed feelings. I don't just unilaterally say don't go on the platforms, but I do say if you go, you got to stand up. And I had the conservative brother from that's running for Byron Daniel, running in Florida. I had him on Politics Nation, but I asked him straight up questions. How do you defend what you're doing? Don't you know you engaged in an interracial marriage in Florida where it would have been against the law for you to be, and certainly in the Senate? Oh, you trying to be cute? No, I'm not trying to be cute. I'm trying to be factual. I'll give them a platform if we're going to talk straight, and I would do theirs. But most of us don't want to talk straight. And
that's all I ask, Reverend Sharpton. That's all. It has to be based on facts. And lastly, let me ask Antoine, I'm going back to you as a Democratic strategist. Should any affiliation with Epstein, should that be a vetting process for the Democratic Party? I would hope that people who have any affiliation with this, that they would step aside and don't taint any of our candidates. Because, this is huge. And Reverend Sharpton, we should be praying with and praying for our children, not praying on them. Is there any other species in this world that rapes their own children? I'm asking the scholars out there, the scientists, the biologists, anthropologists. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your call, Sister Pam. Let's take a break. We'll answer on the other side of the break. Keeping it real. Shopton, see right. Be right back. As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned. People marched. Mrs. Coretta Scott King, who never has gotten the credit she deserves in being the force behind this movement. Congressman John Conyers, Stevie Wonder, and others. And Ronald Reagan, who had called Martin Luther King a communist, ended up being the president that had to sign the bill for Martin Luther King's federal holiday. The reason why we know struggle works is this holiday is a result of struggle, signed by a president that never thought it would be. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up to Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. But we gather this morning because everything Dr. King stood for is at risk. As we speak, we're waiting to see what the Supreme Court will do with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, one of the major achievements of the King movement. As we speak this morning, this sitting president has declared war on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is the core of the Civil Rights Act of '64. We are under attack, and we should not be taking this as a day off. This is a day on to fight to keep what was maintained. To see, I remember 6 years ago, Martin III and I were in Minneapolis leading the marches around George Floyd. I did the eulogy at his funeral. 6 years later, we see a white female, unarmed, killed in Minneapolis. We see people being racially profiled. We see that there are those that would want this to be the last federal holiday named after King. Don't you be deceived. This sitting president and his cohorts would want to end Martin Luther King Day. But just like we will not let them end this day, we will not let them end voting rights and Civil Rights Act and DEI. It's not enough to remember and honor the dreamer and let them kill the dream. And that's why National Action Network has every year started in Washington, D.C. with this breakfast, and then we go to New York with our public policy forum. And every year we try to set an agenda and go into April. We always have our national convention in April, which is the month Dr. King was killed, to say that they killed the dreamer, not the dream. And those of us that come out of that movement is going to continue to fight. This April will be our National Action Network is 35 years old in this April at our convention. One of the things, though, we've been most proud of is to try to keep the assignment that we were given. As I said, Mrs. Coretta Scott King never got the credit she was due. She's the matriarch of this movement. You must know that Dr. King was in Boston, had graduated Morehouse College, 19 years old. Went to Boston University, an Ivy League school at a time many blacks couldn't get in them. Met a young lady who was in conservatory, was going to be an opera singer from Marion, Alabama, Coretta Scott King. They decided to go back south. A lot of blacks that went north and had their upper movement never wanted to go back south. But for whatever reason, Dr. King wanted to go back south. And Mrs. King stood right with him and went to Alabama and ran into history. It is always those that accept the calling that change history. And we should never forget the sacrifice made of Dr. Martin and Mrs. Coretta Scott King, because they did not have to go and lead a boycott. They were Boston University Conservatory graduates. They chose to fight. And when it fell their lot, they kept fighting. And even after Dr. King was assassinated, she kept the movement going. Martin III bonded me and his mother, and she used to reprimand me. Al, you got to be careful with your language. Al, I know you up north, but do this, that, and other. She got on me about being not only in the tradition in your actions, because we always was there, but even in your rhetoric. And it was because of that it meant so much. For the last 30 years, Martin and I have walked step by step together because we had that bond, and I felt that Mrs. King gave us that. He has kept this dream alive all over the world. He has worked with the offsprings of Mahatma Gandhi to keep this tradition going. But I thought I knew a lot about how God operates because I've been preaching since I was a little boy. So I thought I'd never see another person in the spirit of Coretta Scott King. But Andrea Waters King walks and talks and operates in the spirit of Mrs. Because sometimes I turn around and think Mrs. King is back. She is more adamant. When Martin and I are saying, well, I don't know about this, she gets us on the Zoom and zooms us up. Say, no, y'all got to do this and this way. So I want to bring, before we start the war, to the stage. Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Angie Figtree says Byron did poorly on Politics Nation because he's a wimp. Well, I didn't call him names, but he didn't handle himself well. I'll put it that way. But he can always come back. But I'm not going to not ask what I've got to ask. Bruce Turner says, .fun politicians go on a lot of shows. I want to see some backbone when the hard questions come. Rev went on Fox and handled them. That's what we need to say if they want our vote. That's all I'm saying. I guess the answer is you have to be about what you are about, and that doesn't change. And I think that it is very, very important that we separate those that are performative from those that are committed. And there is a big difference. Let me go back to the phones. Let's get Cooper from New Jersey. Cooper, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and Seawright.
Reverend Al and Brother Antoine, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Before I get into my main question, I love the last topic about mobilizing and getting younger folks involved, Rev. I'm a millennial myself, and I'm running for office this upcoming election, and I want to make history becoming the youngest black male to hold this seat. So we need all folks. And as Obama said it as well, the Democrat Party has to reach out to younger candidates and get them involved. And we can get the younger folks that will vote. We'll love to see somebody that resembles themselves, who have a pulse of current topics, of what's going on, to vote for them. So I truly believe that, and hopefully, Rev, in the future, we can work together so we can make that history of me winning that seat.
Well, I mean, but all you got to do is come and let's talk. I mean, I'm the easiest guy in the world. I'm the only one you know that has a rally at the same place every Saturday. We have conventions every year. So, all you got to do is come and say you need to sit down and talk. Let's see if we're on the same page. I don't agree that age is a barometer. I agree with agenda is a barometer. I'd rather have an old person that's about something than a young person that the only calling card they got is they young. That just because you was born last don't impress me.
It is that's facts, Rev. Now the main question for today was, I want Rev, what does it say about Donald Trump's legacy and leadership for a guy to be so focused on having his name on buildings and properties, and now he's holding up funding when you don't put his name on these buildings and properties, and it's affecting where I live in New Jersey and New York. He's holding up this Hudson Tunnel project with funds, but I think they did finally release the funds. But I just want to say, what does that tell you about somebody who's so driven to having his name on everything and would rather have his own constituents and people, voters of this country, suffering?
Yeah, that's a great question. Now you sound like a kind of candidate I like. You're absolutely right. I think it is the ultimate narcissism, but it's also people need to get beyond just the nerve of him to understand what that means. It means that he will stop jobs. He will stop people from being able to more easily come across or under the Hudson, which is jobs. He will stop the creation of small businesses that would be on both sides of that that work, like they are at airports. All of that because he wants to have a hissy fit and put his name on it. This is the ultimate insensitivity that I've heard. And to say the same about he wants his name on Penn Station in New York and on Dulles Airport in Washington. It's just a narcissist gone crazy as far as I'm concerned. But thank you for your call. Let me go to Northwest Atlanta, Georgia, to my friend, Sister D.
Yes, Reverend L., thanks for accepting my call. I've been trying to get on for a while because you started off the show asking for the three best presidents. Well, I'm gonna go negative. Hey, Mr. C. Wright, I saw you on Reverend L. show the other day. You get better looking and better looking. But anyway, I want to give
you saw he been in my closet again. Got my brown check.
I saw he was in your closet, Rev. He looked good. You did good too, Rev. But Rev, I want to say two things right quick because I know you got to go. In my lifetime, I'm just saying in my lifetime, the three worst presidents I've ever seen were Nixon, George Bush, and Trump. Trumped them all. He's the worst ever, maybe in the history of America. I need to call back later on in this week though, Rep, because I want to talk to you about what's going to happen in Social Circle, Georgia, in terms of this new ICE detention place. But I want to let you know that yesterday I was so happy. It was like the old days back in the 60s and 70s at Big Bethel AME Church. Mark Mariel was there, was the speaker for Social Justice Sunday. And it's good, and more churches need to go back to having those social justice Sundays because I'm sure you do.
Right.
We had Senator John Ossoff there, Judge Penny Reynolds, former Mayor Bill Campbell, and Fonnie Willis. And my heart goes out. I heard Pam mention Fonnie, and I was so glad she did. We need to keep that young woman prayed up because she is really taking one for the team.
Now, what is the status of Fonnie Willis right now?
Well, I think they still have a lawsuit against her. She's still defending herself against these charges, and it's so ridiculous, Rev, because we saw it on tape. We heard it on tape. Trump asking for those 11,000 votes. So he belongs in jail.
Yeah.
And she was just trying to take him to court. But she's the district attorney. That's her job. She was doing her job.
Yeah, I'm going to reach out as well. I think you are absolutely right, and I think that we need to be real clear on that. That when you target people because they stand up for us, we should be more than loyal and standing up for them, Antoine.
Oh, look, it's a must, not a plus, Reverend Al, and I think standing up for Fannie, Letitia James, and others, some of these African-American mayors who have been purposely targeted by this administration, one, for being black, two, for representing the majority of black people, but three, for deciding that they're not going to allow the rule of law or the guardrails of democracy to fall in this moment. I think we have to stand up for them, but I don't think it should be an expectation for us to do it and not those who don't look like us. And going back to your subject matter earlier, when you come to white progressives, I would love to see them take the mantle and stand up for some of these fights, these racial fights that we find ourselves engaging in as black Americans.
Yeah, I would be very curious to see where the white progressives in Georgia are standing up for Fannie Willis or some similar situations like that. And one of the things, Antoine and Dee, that I was talking to a historian today down when I was over at MS Now Studio, and he was saying one of the reasons why people like me became so, quote, controversial is it was easy to say at a certain point in American history, oh, those Southern guys are just so racist, guys with the bib and the overalls. But when we started, and I initiated some of the first big ones, marching in white neighborhoods here that we were getting killed in New York and in Connecticut and racial profiling in New Jersey. Oh my God, they're exposing that we're racist and we're the ones with the well-tailored suits and the condo apartments and the manicured bigots. So they controlled the media. So they made us look like pariahs because we were taking the veil off of them. They were willing at some point to say the Southern whites, since the Civil War, they were racist, but not us. Now you have a president that personifies exactly what I was talking about since the 80s, that there's no difference between a racist in an overall and bib down in Georgia and in a racist with a pinstripe suit on Fifth Avenue that becomes the president of the United States. And they didn't want that, so they control the networks, they control a lot of the media, so they make you look like you're more. What was irresponsible about me marching in areas saying y'all killed somebody out here and we want the murderers to give it up? What's controversial about that? What was controversial is they did not want to be exposed, and they couldn't keep their cousins from running out there calling us the N-word, confirming what we said. So I think that when we challenge all of this, from Fannie Willis to Tish James in the North, we got to understand it's the same spirit and the same bigotry behind it. So that's why we got to stand with Fannie and Tish, because they're not after them, they're after us. And they use them as a example of this is what we'll do to you if you stand up to us. All right.
And Rev, I think you're spot on. I also think that if we don't show some resistance now, that we will have at least 3 more years. I say at least because they're trying to not have an election and keep them in office. If we don't stand up now, there will be no limits on what they will do in the future.
No limits, and we are doing it to ourselves because we're not even giving them a reason to fear that we coming, because a lot of us are not. I'm sorry for everybody I couldn't get to on the phones. Call in tomorrow. Let me thank Antoine Seawright, as always, standing up with us on Mondays, getting us started, and for being on Politics Nation last night. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.